So the next one's going to be property taxes, which
Okay.
is a big topic everyone is always upset about.
Yes.
It's also a very complex issue that we don't all understand how it works, because there's state, like local stuff and state stuff, and they both kind of want to blame each other, and then so we're not really sure who's to blame or how we fix it. We just know that
It's a problem.
it's a problem, and we need you smart people that we elect to go in there and do something about it. What specific legislation would you support to lower property taxes in Kansas? How would you balance property tax relief with funding for schools, roads, and emergency services? And would you support requiring landlords to pass property tax reductions on tenants through lower rent?
I'm a little bit behind, so
Yeah.
I'm like a week behind, but I do try and
That's
keep
better
up with
than
it. I want to say it's House Bill 2745. I could be wrong. I can check, actually. I probably have it in here somewhere.
I know I heard some hubbub about property taxes.
Oh, 24, yeah, I messed it up again. It is House Bill 2745. Is the most promising one I've seen so far, because there is a bill floating out there saying we need to just get rid of property tax entirely, and I see that as being a very dangerous thing to do all in one. They say reduce it by 50% and by 25% and then eventually get to zero over the course of a few years. That seems pretty fast, pretty extreme. House Bill 2745 instead would cap the valuation that it can go up per year by 3% is what I think they settled on. It was talked about maybe 5%, but I think they've got it down to 3% increase on your valuation of your property, which I had a concern with. That is, what if you're trying to borrow money against your property, take out a loan, something like that? But I have talked to officials, I've looked through it, and they have said that it's a similar system to Arizona's, where there's a second set of numbers that they will also record, which is like the real valuation or the actual valuation. So you could still borrow against it, you just sell it for the right amount. It's just the taxes they're able to take is only 3%.
Yeah, the banks and the homeowners and the lenders and stuff have evaluations that they do of like market value. The problem we have with Wichita property taxes, the way it's calculated there in Sedgwick County, it starts with the new estimated property value of your home. And they've been rising so much because of the building of other things and inflation,
Right.
which is great if you want to sell your house. But if you've paid it off and they decide to build some fancy new thing near you, and you want a fixed income and your insurance goes up $100 a month, you cannot cover that. I think I heard there was some sort of provisions for the income of the elderly people. They're cut off to be able to get property tax reimbursements and stuff. That's my main concern with the property taxes. We do need to lower it. We need to start with those people that need it lowered, because I've always rented, and 43% of Kansas are renters. So unless you're going to make my landlord lower my rent, if he gets a property tax decrease, why do I care about property taxes?
At that point,
Like
I thought about that for a while, because in this city especially,
Except for cars
a
and stuff.
lot of it is rental. So how does that help them? Is that just going to help the upper class that already owns their home? I would imagine there's a scenario where it lowers rent a little bit. For the sole purpose in Manhattan specifically, there's a drop-off, a cliff of how many high school students are going to be graduating over the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be much lower than it has been in the past. So there will actually need to be attractive offers to go for a rental property in Manhattan, because we're going to see a lower number of students coming to Manhattan. So there's a chance that it will lower slightly, but it's not going to be a massive change. It's not like a gift from the heavens. It's going to be very marginal things. The property tax being capped at 3% will also not just be a huge thing. It'll be small changes, which I think doing it incrementally is smarter than just doing it all at once.
I think if you just start at the bottom of the income and just say, if you make less than this amount, you don't have to pay property tax. Because in Wichita, 30% of the rentals are owned by one man that lives in Oklahoma. So if they lower property taxes, he gets a huge chunk of money that he will not be passing off to anyone but himself, or maybe the property management company that does the actual work will want more money. I don't know, but he's going to invest, or he'll buy more property and have even a bigger cut. So I mean, 30%, he basically controls the rent prices in Wichita with that much property. And so there has to be like cutting property taxes for families that own homes, single family homeowners makes sense to me, but then not cutting it for homes that aren't your main domicile. Like you should if we just cut property taxes on main domiciles, I haven't crunched the number, or main domiciles under a certain amount of money, I think that would be a good start to make people happier.
Yes. Well,
The working, everyday people.
and like you said at the very beginning, it's a very complicated issue.
is.
I'm still trying to learn it, and I'm sure I will not be passing legislation, like writing any legislation for property tax. There are people who
Yeah.
are much more
Well,
experienced
there's
in
so
office.
much, the county level and the city level, the bulk of it goes to them. The state, it's not even, I don't remember what their biggest revenue source is, but it's not necessarily property taxes. It goes to the county a lot of times, gets it, and then a little gets dispersed to the city. And so, yeah, I think it's like an education thing. People just don't know how things work.
And like at the county level, I think city elections in Manhattan have like less than 20% turnout, voter turnout. It's like that's your main. If you're worried about property tax, be concerned
Yeah,
about
you
those
need to-
people.
Yeah, and that's how I ended up paying attention to local politics too, is because I've always been for years harping about local politics. Now people need to pay attention because decisions that are made by my city council impact my everyday life. And then it's the state and the federal government. Yes, they do things that impact our lives, or they do things that impact the funding that the states get, and they do have an impact on it, obviously. But the immediate, like long-term kind of results, good or bad, that you get from a 4-year city council member, they can make some really bad. Wichita has this one thing that we're still. It was the worst deal we've ever. It was like a 99-year contract. It was crazy, right? And of course, the people that did that are long gone. And a lot of damage can be done in a 4-year term on city council. And that's a full-time job. I would never want to run for it. It's all day, every day, year round for 4 years.